Hiya Six, I wanted to share this book with you today. It's called Trailblazer and it links really well to our equality stuff that we did last term because it is about the first women's footballer. So it starts with an author's note. This story is based on the life of Lily Parr, one of many amazingly talented women footballers who, despite great difficulties, prejudice and ridicule, battled to keep women's football going in the 20th century. Because they wanted their matches to raise money for charity, they accepted very low pay for playing and so had to fit their games around long hours doing other jobs. Even when they were banned from football grounds, these women carried on playing whenever they could because they loved the game so much. And so now, following the trail they blazed, women's football is played and enjoyed by millions around the world. This book is for all who have fought prejudice and to fulfil their true potential and continue to do so. It's called Trailblazer, Lily Parr, the unstoppable star of women's football. When Lily was born in England in 1905, her parents had no idea that she would become a football star. But Lily loved playing football and she was very good at it. But there were some that didn't think women should play. Lily trained hard, often with her brothers. Then, when she was only 14, she started playing for a women's team called St. Helens Ladies. Alfred, the manager, saw her and was amazed by her skills. He offered her and her teammate, Alice, a job in his factory, and it had its own women's football team. Lily would have to move away from her home, but it meant playing for one of the best women's teams in the area. Working in the factory was hard, but the team were one big family, living for the evenings and weekends when they had matches against men and women. Lily played brilliantly in any position, but usually played outside left. No one in the country, not even a man, had a more powerful shot than her. Some men didn't like being beaten by a women's team, and one goalie challenged Lily. "No woman can beat me. Bet you can't score a penalty." "Just watch me," said Lily. Lily kicked as hard as she could. He saved the penalty, but the strength of her shot broke his arm. Oops. Ditka Ladies became the best team in the country and represented England, beating international teams at home and abroad. Alice was a great captain. Jenny's ball control was brilliant. Florrie was a top goal scorer, and Lily was amazing everywhere on the pitch. Crowds flocked to see them wherever they played. On December the 26th, 1920, 53,000 people squeezed into a stadium to watch them play Lily's old team, St. Helens Ladies, with another 14,000 stuck outside. They won 4-0. But in 1921, the English Football Association banned women's teams from playing on all their grounds. They made lots of excuses. "It's too much for a woman's body. It is most unsuitable for females. We should not encourage them." Did that stop Lily and her friends? No way. "We'll play even if we have to play on ploughed fields," said their manager Alfred. "We play for the love of the game and we're determined to carry on," said Alice. So they played on village greens and open spaces everywhere they could, but not many people could watch them there. Alfred came up with a plan. They would go to Canada. But we don't allow women to play football in Canada. So they went to the United States. There weren't many women's teams in America, so they played against top men's divisions teams too. They still won or drew most of their matches, and Lily was the star player, and she most certainly made the headlines. But despite all their success, back home, the FA still banned women from using their grounds, but they were unstoppable and played wherever they could. In fact, Lily ended up playing football for 31 years. The power of her shots were legendary, her ball skills were amazing, she was a true football star. Today, thanks to women like Lily and her teammates, women's football is growing in popularity around the world. In 2019, the first statue of a woman footballer was revealed in the National Football Museum in Manchester, and that statue was of Lily. Lily's name has gone down in history as a real trailblazer. I hope that you really enjoyed that story. There is a couple of football facts at the beginning of the book that I would like to share with you before we leave. So, women's football is now played throughout the world, with at least 176 countries having their own professional national women's team. While English men were fighting in World War I, women did many vital jobs, and in their spare time, some played football. When the soldiers returned, they wanted women to stay at home and do the housework, so women had to battle for the right to play. At the first official England women's match, most of the male reporters criticised their skill even though they played well. They commented more on their clothing, short skirts over trousers, called knickerbockers, tucked into socks. From the late 1960s, there was a surge in interest in women's football worldwide, and in 1970, Mexico played Italy in a match watched by 60,000 spectators and broadcast on national TV. I hope that you found that interesting. It has a great link to last term's learning, because we have to ask ourselves the question, in terms of football, are men and women equal? What do you think?